Hey Floss Tube, it's Leslie with Fat Cat Flossing, and I am here trying to do my first Stitch With Me video, and this is an experiment. It is a work in progress, so hopefully it'll work. This was take 2, my first time the camera cut off after 10 minutes. Hopefully my hubby has fixed that for me, and I hope that you can see what I'm doing. As you can tell, I stitch in hand and have for years and years and years. And I do what I think is called the English method, although don't quote me on that. But what it boils down to is no matter what kind of floss I'm stitching with, each cross as I go instead of doing the half legs one way and then half legs back the other way. I may do that occasionally if it works better for whatever the project is I'm working on. Like I mentioned in my last floss tube, I really wish I had done that with the bird on Blackberry House. But I didn't. I crossed them all and, live and learn. Now I know. But anyway, what I'm working on now is Henry O'Hare by Lizzie Kate. This is a kit that I purchased from another lady on Stitch Mania, from Linda Newton, who was kind enough to share him with me. And I'm probably past the halfway point on him now, I think. Just got his head up here to do, fill in his arms and his feet, and then I can try to do my first stand-up. So I'll be using Vanna's tutorial for that. And she's so generous to share all that stuff with us. But anyway, here I am stitching away on his second pant leg. And I'm happy to be sitting here stitching. The last couple days I've been really busy. I ran errands all day Friday and did the big trip to Sam's to pick up everything and just kept busy all day. And then yesterday I ran all the errands except the grocery store. But yesterday my husband likes to go to the grocery store because he only wants to pick out his snacks. So yesterday was grocery store and put everything away, and then I made 6 dozen homemade enchiladas, cheese and then chicken and cheese. So they're not hard to make, it's just very time consuming. It takes me about somewhere between 3 and 4 hours from start to finish when I do those. But they're really good, and now we have a bunch of enchiladas and we'll eat them this week, and I'll probably stick some in the freezer. And anyway, it's worth it in the long run, but it is a long process, at least for me. I'm sure if you grew up making enchiladas, maybe it would be quicker, but I'm not particularly fast at it. But anyway, we had good homemade Mexican food last night. And if anybody wants those recipes, I have a great recipe for traditional enchilada sauce, and then one for sour cream enchilada sauce, because that's what I like better. And of course the best is when you double sauce them, like what I did, and put both sauces on them. But if anybody wants the recipe, I'll hit me up and I'll share it with you. So after I did that and cleaned up the huge mess in the kitchen, I think I stitched about 30 minutes last night, and that was it. So I missed Friday off the grid, which was a bummer, since I was still out running errands and then came home too late to get anything done Friday night. But I plan to be stitching basically for the rest of the day, other than, maybe taking a load of clothes out of the dryer, switching them over. Plan to stitch all during the Super Bowl. Steve will be watching the Super Bowl just because he loves football. He eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Although neither one of us gives a hoot about this game, really, because we're both Cowboys fans. And sadly, they are not in the Super Bowl or anywhere close. So neither one of us gives 2 hoots between the Eagles and the Patriots who wins. But he'll watch it because it's the Super Bowl, and he loves the commercials. And hi, Rose. Hi, Fairy. How are you? One of my kitties is here to visit, to add some extra kitty hair to my project. And as you can tell, there's always plenty of kitty hair to begin with. Hi, little girl. This is Fairy. Come to say hi. Down you go. Ski-daddly-do. But anyway, I plan to stitch basically for the rest of the day. Hopefully get this video uploaded, depending on what my internet speed is like at any given time, because sometimes it is not awesome. I think my video on Thursday took like, I don't know, 3.5 or 4 hours to upload. So, and this is new. I have a camera now that will do video. So hopefully this time it'll do more than 9.5 minutes of video, which is what it did the first time around. So Steve's changed some settings in it for me, and hopefully that'll cure it. And as you can see, I have lots of kitty hair just sewn right in. But that's okay, because I love my kitties and want them to have them with me. And as you can see, I'm not super concerned with the way my stitches lay or how the back of my piece looks. And I know that a lot of people take a lot of pride in that. But for me, it's really about enjoying the stitching. And I do enjoy having the finished products, but it's more about enjoying the stitching than it is looking if I'm going to be able to put something in the fair or not. I have considered it, and then I considered that there was probably far too much kitty hair sewn into everything I've ever done for that to work. So I just enjoy the stitching, and I enjoy having some of the pieces around the house. And I pulled that right on through, didn't I? What I usually do when I start a thread, if I'm not starting in the middle of something, is I'll tuck a little tail on the back and then do a little pin stitch to secure it more, or a modified pin stitch I think it is when you do it this way. But anyway, since I have no idea what to ramble on about for the rest of the time, and I haven't done this yet, I printed off the Know Your Needleworker tag questions, and I figured I'd answer those. Although I may have answered some of these in a previous video. Like, the first question is, where do you live? I live in northwest Arkansas, about 20 miles east of Fort Smith, which is just right off I-40. And we've lived here for about 16 months. My husband is originally from Arkansas, and he had a job change the end of 2016. So since we were going to be moving anyway, we just decided that coming home for him, being near his parents, because they're kind of getting to the age where that's a good thing, you know, would be a good thing for us to do. And we both like Arkansas. So we've been here since, like I said, the end of 2016. I grew up in South Texas. I grew up out in the country on a ranch about 15 miles north of a little town called Edna. Went to high school there, had a great childhood. And then I lived in Victoria, which is a town of about 75 or 80,000, about 25 miles from Edna, for most of my adult life, other than the 5 years I spent in San Antonio. And I love Texas. I mean, there's nothing not to love about Texas, other than the heat. I hated the heat, because we were right about 30 miles from the Gulf Coast, so very hot, very humid. Don't like that. What else? What do I do for a living? Well, I am very gratefully retired. I worked as an RN for almost 25 years. I started off in labor and delivery and spent 7 years in L&D, a little over 3 years in ICU, and then I went to the ER for a year, and from there I took a job as a house supervisor or night nursing supervisor, which is an adventure, let me tell you. And I did that for 3 years, and then I went back to the emergency department as the nurse manager for the ER and the flight program. And then when my son got out of high school and I was no longer tied to living there, I moved to San Antonio and worked for San Antonio Air Life, and I did that for the last 5 years before I retired. And we moved back to Victoria for my husband's job, and to be closer to my parents, because they were kind of getting to the age that was also a good idea. And when we moved back to Victoria, I would have had to go back to working nights, and Steve was adamantly opposed to that. So I retired from nursing and basically ran his office, did administrative stuff, which was much easier on my back and knees. I love nursing. It's great. I got a lot of nice thank yous for people who felt like I made a difference for them, and that's really cool. But it is a stressful, hard on your body job, and I do sometimes miss it. Flying is the most fun you can have with your clothes on. And one of the things, I follow Michelle, y'all all know Michelle Bindi Stitchy. One of the things I like about her, she tells a lot of stories about working as a nurse, and I never did hospice nursing because it was just too, I don't want to say gloomy. I didn't have the emotional fortitude to do it. But I enjoy hearing her stories. What's next? Do I have any children? Yes, I have one son. He's 36, and he is a staff sergeant in the Army. And he's currently stationed at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. And he has probably another year or 16 months, something like that there, before he's restationed back on the mainland again. And I am anxious for that because I miss him. I miss seeing my grandson. And Hawaii is outside of my travel budget pretty much. So, anxious to have them come back. My grandson just turned 4. And I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm a very proud grandma for him. I'm a Mimi. And I sure do love that little squirt. His name is Colton. Do I have any pets? Oh boy, we have pets for days. We have 3 dogs. We have 2 Shih Tzus and a Pomeranian. Pomeranian is a rescue puppy. And I'll tell her story sometime, but she's a character. She's our little princess. But love the dogs. And then I breed and show Burman cats, so we have a plethora of kitties. Although I don't have any kittens right now, but I do have lots of cats in my house. And I love them. Hey, stop that. And as you can hear, some of them get crossways now and again. And then we also have a bearded dragon. Well, the camera cut off again, so I'm going to try to splice it together. We may have parts 1 through however many knows of this. But anyway, next question. Other hobbies besides stitching? Well, I breed cats, as you can tell from Poppy yelling there in the background. And I show them. I show 4 or 5 times a year probably. I don't show as much as I used to because in this part of the country it's more difficult geographically to get to shows. And I have to budget my travel dollars between showing the kitties and seeing my son, and of course that's a higher priority now that I am Mimi and want to see my grandson. And I read a lot. I used to make jewelry. I haven't done that really since we moved. And I'm probably unloading all of my jewelry stash to my best friend because she still actively makes jewelry. She's the person who got me started doing that to begin with. And I cook some. I enjoy cooking. I hate the being rushed and having to get dinner on the table at 5:30 kind of thing, but I enjoy just baking and that kind of thing. And what else? That's about it. I mean, I play far too much Farmville. Whoops, just unthreaded that needle. And as you can see, horrors, I'm a thread licker. But like I said, I'm more interested in the enjoyment I derive from stitching versus being very uptight about how I do it. So it doesn't bother me to lick the thread. Favorite movie? I have a real hard time picking favorites of anything, except perhaps chocolate anything. But my favorite movie for years was probably Star Wars. And then now that the new Star Wars movies came out, the newest one is probably, or not the newest one, the one that came out 2 years ago. I haven't managed to get to the theater to see the very newest one yet. We were spoiled. We lived very close to a really nice upscale theater that had great screens and the chairs where you feel all the motion and everything. And since we moved, we have not had access to that. So we'll probably actually just buy that movie and watch it at home. But then the first of the latest Star Wars trilogy is probably my favorite movie now, I guess. That middle trilogy, why bother? I thought they were horrible. Just about ruined the Star Wars franchise. And I enjoyed Rogue One. But anyway, like I said, really hard for me to pick favorites. Favorite TV show, same thing. Hard time picking favorites. Big Bang may be my favorite TV show, and I really like Last Man Standing also. And then I enjoy medical dramas like Chicago Fire, Chicago Hope, not Chicago Hope, Chicago ER, Chicago PD. I enjoy those kinds of shows. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. My husband is a TV addict. It goes on as soon as he comes home. But I used to go for days when I wasn't married without turning the TV on. Now I am looking forward to watching the Olympics starting this next week. And I'm kind of bummed that I'm going to San Antonio. I'll be leaving early Friday morning, and I'll miss the opening stuff. So that's kind of a bummer, because I really enjoy them whenever they come around. And they come around so seldom. But anyway, other than that, I'm not a big TV watcher. Favorite book. My all-time favorite book is probably The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley, and I've read it a bunch of times. One of my favorite series of books is the Durini series by Catherine Kurtz, which is a fantasy trilogy. It's, I think, 3 separate fantasy trilogies, which are all good books. They can be read as standalones, but they're best if you read the whole series. And I also enjoy action-adventure stuff like Lee Child or Stephen Hunter or the guy that writes the Prey series, whose name I can't remember right now. And I have to confess, I have no great literary favorites or tastes. I read for enjoyment. I read just, fiction. Nothing to elevate my mind. I like little mysteries. I like historical romance. I read a lot of stuff. But again, it's not exactly anything elevating my mind. Hi, Ori. Ori's here. Come here. Come here, little boy. Ori's only 6 months old, so he doesn't know he's a boy yet, but he's my new stud boy. Whenever he figures out that he's a stud. And he's a sweetie pie like most Burmans are. He's a real cuddle bug. Oh, favorite music. I like a lot of music. Lately I've been listening to a lot of Jason Isbell and Walk Off the Earth. My all-time favorite songs are probably Landslide by Fleetwood Mac and Desperado by the Eagles. And I guess I'm dating myself by those. I think both of those came out when I was in high school. One of the great disappointments of my life was when Glenn Frey died and I realized I'd never see the Eagles in concert. At least not the original Eagles. But I enjoy a lot of music. The only I can't do rap. I think it's an abomination. I just hate it. Makes me angry to have it on. But I like lots of music. I like country. I like pop. What word best describes you? Wow, that one's a hard one. I I have a hard time pigeonholing myself into one word. Eclectic, maybe? I don't know. I think I'm intelligent, but I don't know that that's my defining characteristic. I'm not very patient. I'm a pretty nice person, other than I have a really low stupidity tolerance. When you exceed my stupidity tolerance, you activate my bitch factor. And I don't like people who just don't give a crap about, whatever. Care about whatever it is you're doing. I don't know, I have a really hard time pigeonholing myself into one word. I don't know if that means I'm unimaginative or just stubborn. And I tend to lean towards stubborn, because now that might be a defining characteristic. Oh man, I'm going to have one of those stupid knots. There it goes. But anyway. I will be glad to get done with Henry's trousers. I feel like I have been stitching gassed midnight for years. And I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it. I'm ready to do a different color. And I think after this I'll probably put Henry away for a little while and pull out something else. Maybe time to work a little bit on Blackberry House. That is one thing. I like working on some different things, but I don't do really a rotation. I just have my projects, and if I feel like stitching on project A, I stitch on project A, and if I feel like stitching on product B or C or D or whatever, that's what I do. What is it? Stitchem says, Sweewee, stitch what you want when you want. Yeah, that's pretty much me. I don't do well with things being so structured that I have to do this or that or the other. That takes a lot of the joy out of it for me. So I stitch what I want when I want. I have done more starts this year than I did any time previously, probably, but I have gotten more stuff accomplished too. I've had more finishes. And that's probably related to some of the starts were fairly small, not big projects. I have two fairly large projects going on right now, the Blackberry House and Oh Beautiful by Shepherd's Bush. I'm at work on that. I haven't worked on that for several days. So I don't know. We'll see where the spirit moves me, when it moves me. And I hope that y'all have been able to see what I've been doing, stitching in hand. That hasn't been too difficult to watch. Hope the focus was okay. I think I learned to stitch with a hoop. Maybe with embroidery and a hoop. And I wasn't real crazy about just regular embroidery. I tried some needlepoint. I did some needlepoint for years. I still have a couple of needlepoint kits that if I would get out and do something with, I could. But really, when I found cross stitch, that's been the one that's held my interest for the longest, and dadgummit. I like to do the most. But on that note, since I'm going to change threads anyway, I think I'll call it quits. And I hope y'all have managed to snore through this with me. And hopefully this week I'll get a regular video up again before I leave for San Antonio. And if not, I will see you guys soon. Happy stitching, y'all. God bless. Bye.